Guess who's coming for dinner? Today is February 28th, and this is a group project. And two of the cultural foods that I've chose, I'm Nicole Smith, is tailgating at football games and Hawaiian poi. There was a couple of commonalities I found between the two cultural foods. Is even though they're very, very different, the rituals were the same. One, tailgating, we know that that is basically sports based, and that's a preview before the actual football game.
Mm-hmm.
And for Hawaiian poi, even though it's not sports based, it is a native food system. So poi is comes from a taro plant, and in Hawaii, the natives, um, it's been going on for centuries, and it is that one food that is that brings their people together. And as far as tailgating goes, also with that is I found that to be community based. So as the social aspect of it, we know that people, strangers, come together and share food. So
Yeah.
food is everything. I mean, you could be together and discuss, I don't know, over a hot dog. If you're not a hot dog person, drink some soda, have a beer, relax, talk about your favorite sport. It's really a social aspect, and it's building a community. And that's another commonality with both of the food choices that I chose.
Well, my name is Tanji, and I chose to touch upon Japanese rice and Hindu wedding foods. And like yours, for the Japanese rice, it's a big thing of community because in Japan there's not a lot of flat beds. So what they had to do was carve like little little flatbeds into the mountain. And so because the resources of water was very scarce and
Yeah.
not well rounded, a lot of the community people had to come together to grow enough rice for everybody to eat. So a lot of neighbors would come out and come along and help plant the rice, get it together, and all that other stuff. Uh, and that's basically how like they got along and stuff because the only way that they would survive in Japan is if everybody got along. And so that was like either you get along and make this rice or you don't get along and
So it was
everybody's hungry.
survival.
It was basically survival, and everything in Japan is based off of rice. They have drinks, sake. It's a rice
Which is
drink.
really good.
Yeah. And they everything is based off of rice. Like even some of the words, I think it's called gohan. It's like dinner. What I think it may be lunch, but it's like rice, and then that time of day, I think.
Wow.
And then during the Hindu wedding, they have rice too, but rice plays more of a more spiritual meaning. So with the rice, they do this thing. It's kind of like a game. They the husband and the wife they throw rice over their heads, and basically whoever throws the most rice is going to be the one who's going to be the person who wears the pants in the relationship.
Really?
So yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of the times when they use rice and stuff like that, it's just to show like, who's gonna be the one in charge. But that's basically, the thing with rice. But how they tie together, how rice is very important in both um, backgrounds. So, yeah.
And Pennsylvania Dutch cuisine. And so in the Tlingit potlatch, it's a feast practiced by indigenous people in the Pacific, northwest coast of Canada. And so in the Tlingit potlatch, the Okay, so the traditions that are associated with these food are that the guests are seated potlatches based on their status, and that the dishes such as spoons, ladles, they supported the notion and the importance of the rank and identity within these indigenous people. And similar to today's culture, an example of clean kid potlatch is like weddings, graduations, baby showers, and anniversaries. And to me, it shows that the tribes in their society they value their role because they're seated during this potlatch based on their ranks.
Wow.
And additionally, in the Pennsylvania Dutch cuisine, it's a culture of people who came from Germany and Switzerland in the 17th and 18th century. And some foods that are considered important in this culture are stewed dried apples, cooked pork trimmings mush, and a casserole of shredded cabbage. And the food traditions, they say that the Germany and Switzerland people, where they come from, they take great pride in their work and lifestyle, because while I was doing my research, it seems like many people have different opinions on what the Pennsylvania Dutch cuisine is, but it's like a big misunderstanding because even though that's their idea, it's not really what it's about. If that makes sense.
Right, right.
So and
So what I'm hearing is one commonality for Hawaiian poi and what you have for the Hindu is spiritual significance.
Mhm.
And I think that's important because certain foods connect us spiritually. So we don't always, see that. And we don't always know that in certain cultures, they believe that a certain food could, you know, um, be connected with our ancestors. So
right.
I think that was great. And you said that the potlatch, Tlingit potlatch,
Mhm.
how their foods is served as a status, a cultural status.
Exactly, a symbolism.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's incredible right
Yeah.
there because who would have thought
Right.
the food that you made would be whatever classification
Hmm.
of cultural status you're in. So
True.
yeah,
That's a bit.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I will chime in to say about the ethnocentrism with the New England Patriots. So we know that that's our football team,
Hmm.
and because we have so many wins and our fan base is huge and our tailgating is like crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, there are folks out there that that will bring furniture, vans, trucks.
True.
And, it's a all day affair.
Yeah.
And I think those folks, and it goes on with the cultural relativity because although other NFL teams they might think that they're good, and we are aware that other folks think that their teams are the best.
Hmm.
We have the notion and the knowledge to say, oh, yeah, but we
We are
are
best.
truly the best. We
We are
have
the
all the
champions.
titles,
Yeah.
championships. Yes, so this was big. And then, um, the symbolism to it is, um, that this is a ritual that happens every football season,
Mhm.
and it's the pre-game. So we know that this is what happens with tailgating. So it was truly um, interesting. And folks that don't live in New England that move here to New England, that's where the enculturation comes in to play where they learn our ways of
Right.
tailgating and They learn our foods. So we're just not about hamburgers and hot dogs. We do like the grill, but we also love our New England clam chowder. So when people move here, they tend to adopt, our ways of eating. So that was interesting.
Yeah, to touch upon the symbolism, I noticed that during my research on the Hindu weddings, food has like a huge symbolic way about them. Like certain things that you wouldn't think would probably have like a serious meaning. Like it was cool to find out that if you put crushed cumin seeds and brown sugar together on I think it's called a batel leaf, and the groom and the husband and wife basically put it over their heads, and the mixture basically on the leaf means the cumin is kind of like bitter, so it represents the bitterness that happens throughout life.
Wow.
And then the brown sugar represents the sweetness that life brings, and you have to balance those things with each other throughout your marriage.
Wow.
And so they put it over each other's heads to remind each other that you're going through this together. You're going through this journey of life together. Another thing that I found was interesting was they said they put coconut in their hands. They placed coconuts in their hands.
Really?
And the coconut was supposed to represent a blessed marriage. So it's supposed to symbolize like something of, they're going to have a good marriage and goodwill to that marriage.
Yes.
And their connection. That's what coconut represents. It was just really cool to find out that different foods that, somebody would probably find and be like, oh, this is good, or oh, why would this go together? And you see how they put things together and how simple things like rice could be something different in this culture compared to like my other Japanese cultures.
Right.
It's life.
Yes.
To them, it's more of, same thing, but it's more of like, well, let's see who holds the pants in this relationship, or, let's bless each other with these rituals of bringing food into symbolism.
Yeah.
If I may just add one thing, I would just like to say that all the 6 cultures that we collectively studied as a group, they have similarities and differences in their subculture, because as what we were talking about, like your research along with Tanji's research, you guys both found that culturally they have like a spiritual, what was it?
Yeah, it's spiritual significance.
Exactly. Yeah, and in mine they have like more of like a value, like who they are in their society. So I think that's how they're both similar and different, because even though they have like similar features, they like mean something different, and they both take it like different ways. So and like has an impact on like how they interact amongst others and things like that.
Right. And to piggyback off of you with that, and even though I keep bringing up tailgating, because we don't tend to think that tailgating has really a significance. It's not spiritual, but it is community.
Right.
So, and like you with your research, Tanji, you said that if you don't cultivate and for the lands for rice, you don't survive. Right. So that's community.
Yeah. And it's a good thing that all of our foods basically bring the community together for good things. Show status, shows community within you. Yours and mine. And it's just really cool to see how something so simple as food can bring people together like that. You wouldn't really think of it like that, because I just go in my kitchen and eat.
Right.
I don't really think about anybody else. But just the traditions and rituals that come down to something as simple as food can bring people together.
Yeah.